Welcome. This is Spotlight, and I'm Pastor Dan. We're looking at various answers to prayer, great prayer stories. We could do research and find. There's I'm sure millions of them. You've had your stories, but these are what came to mind. Some of you know the name Tony Campolo. He's in his mid 80s now. Great, great, great man. Has preached here at La Sierra University down the street of where we are today. Uh, Preacher, pastor, most of his career was a sociologist, teaching at a university in Pennsylvania. But he's been here, he's terrific. He tells a story of preaching at a seminary, theology school, close to where he lives. So he drove there himself. So it's a Pentecostal school. They take him to the back room before he goes out to speak. And some of these young Pentecostal theology majors wanted to pray over him, anoint him for this message. So they kneel down and they all put their hands on him and they begin to pray. Well, these are Pentecostal fiery prayers, long prayers. And he said, I got tired of this pressure on my head when one guy started in. God, when I asked you about my neighbor down the street, Charlie Skolsis. You know, God, the guy, he lives in that silver trailer down 3/4 of a mile over on the right. And Campolo's going crazy. God knows this guy. He knows where he lives. You don't have to tell God. But this guy goes on and he says, the guy left his wife today. He left his wife. He left their kids. God sent him back. Bring that family back together. He went on for a while. Finally, he finishes the prayer. They take their hands off of Campolo. He goes out and preaches, finishes his message, gets in his car to go home. Driving down the road, there's a hitchhiker. He likes to pick up hitchhikers. Guy's sitting there, and he says, hey, what's your name? Charlie Skolsis. It's the same name. Campolo locks that away. Come to the next freeway exit, goes off on the road. This guy says, where are you going? He said, I'm taking you home. How do you know where I live? God told me. Guy's eyes are big. What? He said, you left your wife today too, didn't you? How did you know that? God told me. So he went down the road, silver trailer, 3/4 of a mile down on the right, exactly what he heard in the prayer. Drives in the driveway. He says to him, go get your wife. I'm going to come in and talk with you. So he goes into the living room. Next minute, here he comes out with his wife. Now her eyes are big because he just told her, this guy knows where we live. He knows my name. He knows what's happening. Told me about it. Tony Campolo led them to Christ. Last I knew, he was a pastor in California. It's how prayer works. It's how prayer works. We're not persuading God to be more kind. A man came to Jesus one time and said, if you are willing, you can make me well. If I'm willing? No, I ask if I'm willing. I'm always willing. The answer is always yes. 2 Corinthians 1:20, the answer to yes to all of our prayers. So prayer puts us into the pool. So that young man, he hears about it from his neighbor. He puts it into a prayer. He didn't have to do that. He could have kept it to himself. But he puts it into a prayer. And that goes to Campolo, who goes and picks up a guy in a hitchhiker, and God uses him to go right to the door and lead someone to Jesus. And God does that day after day after day. You think of the choreography that God had to do to have Jesus be born in our world. He had to, send star and angels. He had to send prophecies. He had to have them go back to Nazareth. He had to Bethlehem. He had to do all these things so that Jesus is born and it all fits together. God does that all the time. And he is making answers to prayer and working us and using us in those stories all the time. And the answers to prayer happen all over the world, and people receive money, and miracles happen, and people come to Jesus, and there's divine appointments, and God brings us into the pool all the time. I think it's how it works. It's powerful and makes a difference. Hope you'll be a part of it. This is Spotlight. Hope you'll be with us next time. Thank you for watching Spotlight. We're so excited about this. We hope that you'll subscribe and so you'll get all of them. And please just forward it on to others and tell other people about it. And let's just see what kind of an audience we can get for these messages of Spotlight. God bless you.